Good afternoon, Book Talk. We are here to go in conversation with author A L Knorr, who is a best-selling author, and I cannot wait to pick her brain about her journey. So let's just see if she is also live and I can join her in. Not quite yet. So we'll just give her a minute to join in. A L Knorr writes paranormal fantasy. She's got several different series out. I'm super excited to learn about her journey and how she markets her books. It's going to be really exciting. So let's hope that she will be joining us soon. Where are you? Okay, I'm just going to send her a message and see if we can get her on board. Where are you? Hopefully I got my timelines right. Okay, she is just ready coming in. So there you are. There you are. How are you doing, my
Hello.
love? Good.
Look at your tiara.
I know. I have to wear a tiara for all of my chats.
I,
I now have 10. I have a bit of an obsession now.
I love it. It's so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you much. Yeah, it makes me feel like more of a princess if I wear my tiaras. So
it
that's
would.
what
I
we
need
do.
to get some of those.
Yeah. Do you know when I first joined Book Talk and I saw this crown business, I was like, what is this about? And I have been totally swayed and I've moved over to the dark side. And now I think I'm almost as obsessed with my tiaras as I am with my books. So I blame Book Talk made me buy it, you know?
It's a
There we go.
dangerous slope, slippery
It
slope.
is. It is. I put one on my Christmas list and my mom was like, yeah, I wondered why you want one of those. She thought it was going to be for a cake decoration. I was like, no. We wear
I'm
these.
just gonna wear
She
it.
rolled her eyes at me. Yeah. So tell everyone where you are.
I am in Antalya, Turkey, about
Wow.
800 meters from the Mediterranean. Where are
How?
you?
Well, I'm in the UK, so I'm in England. Yeah,
Whereabouts?
not far from London. I'm near Guildford, a town called Guildford. So it takes about 20 minutes on the train to get into London, which is
That's not
great.
bad.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
uh, we just moved to Turkey a year ago from London. We were in
Oh, okay.
Mill Hill area.
Ah, got you. Got you.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow, you're going around all over the place. Look at you. Wow.
Yes. We do travel. Well, we did travel a lot. We've kind of been in one place for a little while now, but that's okay. It's sunny
Yeah.
and there's lots of pomegranates.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's hard to get a pomegranate. I tried to make something with pomegranate and I think it was the wrong season. And I ordered the only one that was available and opened it up and there was no flesh in the pomegranate. It was just the seeds. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? So
Yeah,
yay for pomegranates.
I love them.
Fantastic.
It's so
Yeah,
nice to connect with you. I love your
absolutely.
TikTok.
And yours. I think you were one of the first accounts I came across when I joined, and I loved watching. You always make me giggle. So yeah, it's
Blowing
always
off
good fun.
steam, being
Yeah,
silly.
absolutely. Well, that's what it's all about. I think it's just a place to goof around and have some
Absolutely.
fun, isn't it? And show who you are.
Absolutely.
So speaking of Book Talk, when did you first get yourself on Book Talk?
I think I started, let's see, in the spring, like March or April.
Okay, yeah,
And I didn't really, a friend of mine recommended it. She's
yeah,
on TikTok, and she was having a blast with it. And I was like, I just can't add another social media platform. I'm so
I
busy.
know.
But then I was like, all right, I'll just see what the fun is all about. And then I totally got sucked in,
Yeah,
and I got on a rampage, where I just kept making more and more and learning about the effects that you can use. And
yeah,
I loved the humor, and some people were so clever, and it was introducing me to other authors like me, and I fell in love with it. And
yeah.
I haven't had as much time lately to do them as often as I would like, but I do
Mhm.
find they're like a nice escape because I can use a different part of my brain and
Absolutely. Yeah.
have a little
It's
fun.
it's a creative outlet that works in a different way and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I agree with you on that. I
And
think
it
the
and
draft
it's not
yeah,
only is it make people laugh and it's
yeah,
silly, it's also a great platform for education, like teaching people and sharing skills
absolutely.
and tips and tricks and things. I love that. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think and I've always loved about finding other authors and that support network and I found my initial group on Twitter and but there's something so much more immediate about TikTok because you can see the person, you can hear the person, you get such a quicker sense of who they are,
Absolutely.
which makes us all feel like close friends, doesn't it? So
Yeah, it does. There's
I think it's
more
great.
empathy involved, I think,
Yeah,
than just seeing a text, that somebody wrote
that's it.
that could be taken out of context or there's no emotion or
Absolutely.
tone to it. Whereas when you
That's
can
right.
see somebody's face, you can feel what they're feeling and you can
Yeah,
empathize with them. You can feel happy
absolutely.
with them or sad with them. And I think that puts back into social media something that's missing on other platforms.
Yeah. I think
I love
you're
it.
totally right. Yeah, and I know there has been drama on TikTok, and I know Kat Burgess, for instance, always refers to the drama. I never see the drama. I
Me
only
either.
see her talking about the drama.
Yeah,
So
same. I haven't seen any. I know it
no,
happens, but I'm
yeah.
clueless. Like,
I think
what's
I must
happening?
be in a really nice little squishy corner of book
Bubble.
talks where I don't, a nice little bubble.
Yes,
Yeah,
the fantasy
it's so
the
funny.
fantasy bubble.
Yeah, well, and I'm happy there, so that's fine. Yeah,
Same.
that's really good. So, for people that may not know you or your books, tell us a little bit about what you write, and start with that.
I write young adult contemporary fantasy, but I try and write it in a way that is appealing to a lot of other ages beyond just YA. And that's actually what's happened, is that a lot of adults, in my group, my little private group on Facebook, the people that have been following me almost since the beginning, and they get to request arcs and things like that. They are all adults. A lot of them are retired. Some of them are moms. And so it's really just like providing a rich, imaginative universe for people to escape to.
Yeah.
And I think yours are probably similar. I'm actually halfway through reading Secrets of the Deep, and it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
cannot
good.
wait to read your mermaid series as well, because obviously mermaids are special to both of us, so that's really high on my list. I'm going to get to that. So
Yeah,
really
I
exciting.
love it. It's just pure escapism, and
Yeah.
I just love the sea. I've loved the ocean. I've loved water since I was a little kid, and I've loved stories. My mom taught me to read when I was 3, so I could read before anything else. And my dad jokes that like I would read out loud from like adult books, like the Bible type thing to them, and I could read really well. I could pronounce all the words, even the ones I didn't know what they meant. So
that's obviously bookworm in the making. Yeah. That's
totally
fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I agree.
How about you?
Well, I agree what you say. I mean, what about young adult? It's such a woolly age range, because the last statistic I heard about it was that 75% of people that buy young adult are over the age of 25, and I think that's true. And traditionally, in the traditional market, young adult is really hard to sell because they're pigeonholing it, for that 12 to 18 category, when actually there's a much bigger audience than that. But it's it's just so complicated, and I know that a lot of my readers are over the age, are older, are my age or older, or but I get teenagers as well. So trying to and that's what the beauty, I think, of having a crossover book is about. And as you say, you target your teenagers, but you also make it appeal to adults as well. But not easy to do or sell, in that respect. But
a lot of times they can that age can come across as naive, or how, I don't know what the right words would be for some characters that are 16, 17, the typical teenager, rebellious, maybe they do stupid things, but we all go through that stage, and I think that time in a person's life is so full of possibility. Like you haven't gotten into, maybe necessarily into a serious relationship yet. Maybe you haven't left home yet. You're not sure what you're going to do for a career yet. You're still discovering things, and like that just means there's so much to pick and choose from. And that's why I love the younger characters, but also the adults in their life. Like a lot of them, they go through tragedies and things like that, because you need conflict and you need pain and you need all that to create a story. But the relationships with the adults and stuff too, that's something that I've had a lot of readers say to me, like it's the relationship between the mother and the daughter actually that really hooked me in. It wasn't even so much the romance, or they love the romance too, but like there's more to it than that. These relationships are written between girls in friendship, or the bully at school or whatever it is. There's just so much complex dynamism that you can explore as a writer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, and I think, you know, as you say, at that age, it's so much raw emotion as well, because you haven't got the maturity and the perspective to kind of put that into perspective. And it's just, everything is raw, and how you feel things. And I mean, I remember, you know, even when I listen to a song now that was one of my favorite songs when I was 16 or 17, it brings back such emotion just because of that age and stage of your life. You know, it's,
totally.
yeah.
You never forget that time. Like,
yeah. No, I don't think you do. No.
For some people, I think, you know, they maybe look back and they have regrets, or they had difficulty or trauma. I mean, because being a teenager is tough. But at the same time, you look back with such nostalgia, because it's before you really knew who you were yet. You know, you're just establishing that. You haven't figured that out. And I love that. And I think there's a million different types of characters and genres I could write in, because I enjoy a lot of it. But there's so much to be mined in the YA category that I just keep getting more and more ideas, thinking I have to write this. You know, it just feeds on itself.
I know, it really does. I mean, I've got these 4 books and they're all screaming at me at the moment, and I'm making notes on all of them, but I've got so much editing ahead of me. I don't know when I'll get to one of them, but first drafting is my favorite part. So I'm like, I want to write something.
Yes, so, I totally relate. It's a different type of your side of your brain. Like the creation side of it is so different from the editing portion. It's like flicking switches, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I can't wait to start writing new things again. But yeah, my agent makes me slow down and take my time, which I don't like doing either. I'm like, come on, let's get going. So
candy.
Yeah. So tell everyone, when did you publish your first book?
I published it at the very end of 2016. So December. Wow. I published the first part 1 of this series, The Mermaid's Return, which was just a novella length, because I wrote it and I was like, I just need to put something out there so I can get the feeling for what the dashboard looks like and how to get the book out and what to do next. So it was a very, very end of 2016. And then I published the best-selling one, that's the one that's done really well, this one, Born of Water, in January of 2017.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just like rip them out as fast as I could to try and get a pen name established, and like see if people actually liked my stories, and you know, can I do this full time? And it's been quite an adventure.
I mean, you've got an incredible amount of content. I'm so impressed with your series. So your process must be quite quick, in the sense that you can write quickly, edit quickly, get it out quickly.
It is. I think it's slowed down recently, because now I've got 30 titles out. But in the early years, you know, I hadn't worked for a whole year. I left my corporate job, so I didn't have any income. So there was this pressure to create some kind of income, and I really desperately wanted to write. I've always wanted to write since I was little. So I was like, I have to make this work. I want to make this work. And so that was driving my production to the point where I was injuring myself. Like I developed TOS. I just was sitting at my little laptop, working so much. I wrote 2.5 books in the first year. I think I wrote 4 books in the next year, maybe even 5. But I actually have written a book in a month. But I was so burnt out by the end of that. I was just like, I can't sustain this. So now it's kind of slowed down to, if I can get 3 books out a year, I'm really happy. And even 2 is okay, because now my books are getting longer. Yeah. How about you? When did you first start?
My first book came out in 2019. But I had such a funny journey, because I published originally, the first one was The Shadow Keepers, and that was with a small press, who then kind of, even though I had done all the research on them, they ended up not being great. So they kind of fell apart, and all the authors left, and I got my rights back. So I re-self-published that. And The Unadjusted came out, which is the first of my dystopian trilogy, quite shortly after that. And again, it was a brand new publisher. And after that, she published me and another girl, and she decided she didn't want to publish anymore. So I was like, oh, so I got my rights back for that and re-self-published that, and then self-published the rest of the series. My mermaid book is with a publisher, but my newest book coming out is self-published, and then I have an agent. So we're on submission. So I'm like, I'm all over the place.
You're juggling.
Yeah, I'm like really hybrid. So yeah, it's tricky, but I haven't looked back, and I think obviously the more you publish, the more there is to do that's not writing. But I love it. I really love it. And I think when you get a really good review or someone's told you it's your favorite book or something like that, I mean, that is just the best thing ever. It really
Great
is.
Feeling.
Yeah, but I've got to be careful how much I self-publish, just because it can hurt your traditional chances. Because if a traditional publisher looks at all these self-published books, you know, so I can carry on with my mermaid series, which is great because it's actually a 5-book series. So that's my plan, is to focus on self-publishing that, because traditional publishing takes forever, and I don't like sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So your mermaid one is self-published?
No, that's with a small press out of Oregon, actually. But I think eventually I will get my rights back for that, and I'm going to self-publish the rest of the series.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I went through a little bit of the juggling phase in my second year, like in 2018 and 2019, because I went with a publisher for a 4-book series. When they asked me to write in their universe, like a big universe that a lot of authors were
cool.
do.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really interesting idea. And I wanted to see if that would help jumpstart my other stuff. Like if I could get some interest through them, then maybe readers would like my other books and stuff. And it was a good experience. But like you say, it's not necessarily slower, because they are not a big company. They're a smaller company, but with quite a few authors, and they're putting out books like very quickly. But you do lose control, and I really like that. I love you put your cover up the other day and was like, tell me what you think of these two. You can take feedback and see what people think.
Absolutely.
You're in control of your process, and you can choose editors and designers and when you launch and what to write next. And I really love that. And I feel like, as much as I like the idea of having a publisher take care of all that stuff for me, I wonder if I would, now that I'm 5 years into it, be like, but I wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah. And obviously the more you publish, the more you know, and the more control you're used to. So I totally agree with you. I mean, and I am a control freak. So there are some things that I'm like, and I actually got the Mermaid publisher to redo the cover because I wasn't happy with the first cover. So, and I'm much happier with the new cover. And then I've used the same cover artist for all my books. I think she's incredible. She really is. She's so talented. She delivers on everything I give her. And I couldn't do that. I don't. Hats off to anybody that can design covers, because it's not my strength at all. I'd love to be able to do it, but no, I'm not. I can't picture what it should be either. I'm just like, mermaids.
You're not. Maybe the visual side of it is, your imagination is suited for storytelling, but not for graphics.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Maybe my son. He's quite a blossoming graphic artist. So in the future,
how old is he?
He's 14, so he's an exceptional artist. Doesn't get it from me. I can't draw a stick man. So he's nice. He's doing it for his GCSEs. So I can't wait to see what he puts out. Actually,
there's a huge demand for that now. I mean, graphic design is they need it.
Yeah, that's where I think I'd like to push him. Well, suggest that he goes into that kind of of area. But it's incredible. So, I've been doing some research. Do you use Publisher Rocket? Because I use Publisher Rocket for, all my keywords and categories and things like that.
Yeah.
And because I've been getting ready for this new mermaid book, and I've been looking at all the bestseller lists, and you pop up all the time. And I'm like, oh, look, there she is again. There she is again. So what did you do? I mean, do you think you did anything to get yourself noticed? I mean, do you run ads? Have you got a huge newsletter base? How do you think you built that?
Well, I think it was a combination of things. I don't have a massive newsletter. In fact, I keep trimming it because I'd rather have a smaller list of really engaged readers than a huge list that if nobody opens my. So I think I have 9,000 or so on my newsletter. But they are maybe half of them are really engaged, and the others are kind of like, once in a while I'll check and see what's happening. But this character, the mermaid character that I went out of the gate with, and her mom, people really fell in love with them. Like immediately they started selling, and immediately I was getting emails from the readers saying, when are we going to know what happens with her next? Like, and didn't originally have plans to write more for her, but people kept asking me and kept asking me. So I ended up writing this trilogy. This is in one book. But that's all her as well. So there's like the original.
Okay, that's what I'm going to be ordering then, because I want it in paperback. I'm going to get the trilogy. Yeah, I like that. Good.
It just keeps expanding, and her friends as well, people like them, so they keep expanding. So now, I mean, this is one of her friends, and there's a lot more like up on my shelves. I can't carry them all down here, but I originally was thinking I would just write this first Elemental Origin series and then embark on some other ideas that I had, but my readers literally wouldn't let me. They were just like, you need to write more about these girls. So I just kept writing them. And I think because the universe is wide, I dig into so many of those individual characters, and people just read through the whole thing. My read through is really high. So that then lifts all the titles in the ranking, and I tend to drive traffic to Born of Water with I have AMS ads running, although I don't monitor them the way you should, just because I don't have time.
I don't either. No.
Yeah, it's not my, I mean, I can do it and I'm okay at it, but I don't love metrics. I don't love crunching data, and I don't like numbers. I like letters. So I'd rather be writing. But I think over the years of just experimenting and trying different things, I just figured out what works for me and where to target. And I think that's probably why the mermaid books are kind of, I mean, that category is not very big. It's very niche.
Yeah.
And readers who love mermaids really love mermaids. Like
they do. I think, I'm hoping that, because a lot of my other books are a lot more broader. You know, there's dystopian, there's horror, but with the mermaid series, when I can get my rights back and start targeting that is a lot more specific. So I'm hoping that will garner more of a group from there. But the AMS ads are hard. They are. You know, I had ads running for like over a year, and although they weren't profitable. And I enrolled in Mark Dawson's ad for authors course. So, you know, I went through all the courses and things like that. And I just thought, I don't really know what data I'm looking at. And I used to be a math kid at school, but I think my brain has changed. Now I've just scrapped all my old ads. I've started again. And I've actually said to my husband, will you sit down with me and go through the tutorial about the monitoring, you know, about because I need another brain. I just need somebody else to just go through it with me and see what I do now, because it's always trying to interpret that data that's really hard. So
setting up the ads themselves isn't very difficult. It's what do you do after? Like now they're running. Okay, what do all these numbers mean? Should I cut them back, or do I put more money into it, or what do I do? Yeah.
And this is the thing. I tried to get like the ads course runner to like get me going, but she was going to charge $2,000. I was just like, well, that's a bit pointless, you know. When am I going to make that back?
It's tough. You know, I actually hired a professional to take over my dashboard last year. I think it was last year. And they were very knowledgeable about what to do, and they took over. They were I think $1,200 a month or so to manage. I have 6 dashboards. I mean, they were managing a lot. But I actually found that, so, you know, I had nursed these dashboards to a good place. It took me a long time to do it. Finally just figured out what worked for me and what worked for my titles. And then I handed it over, and then I just watched as it slowly degraded. And all of my profit just kind of went down and down. I was just like, even professionals will not look after your dashboards as well as you will, because you care. It's your blood, sweat, and tears and your money that's going into that. And you're invested over your whole lifetime to make these books work and to establish yourself. And they're not, they're invested in understanding the dashboard so that they can do it for other people, but they don't know the heart and soul of your book, and you do. A lot of them will never even read it. So that was a lesson. When I took it back immediately, it started improving, but it took 3 months before I got back the profitability that I had lost.
Yeah, because AMS ads take a long time to react and change. You know, it positively. So yeah, that's hard work. Yeah,
it's tough. And I have to
yeah.
tell you, like, I went, have you heard of the AMG service?
No, what with
Okay.
Amazon?
Yeah. Marketing services.
Uh, no.
Okay. So
Oh,
there's the AMS dashboards that you're handling yourself. And then there's the next level up, which is
okay.
AMD, or the Amazon Marketing Services, which is where you get a rep from
Oh
Amazon.
yeah, yeah.
And
I'm
they're
not important
expensive.
enough.
Yeah, they start at 35,000 spend over a 3.5 month period or so.
Right.
And I saved up so that I could try it, and it's working. I'm really glad that I've tried it, but it's a little bit like, I don't really know what's going on because this rep is doing the work for me, and I have
Yeah.
access to some data, but it's different than the other data. The dashboard looks different, and
Right.
it's a different beast. It's a totally different
Okay.
experience, and it's a risk, right? Like
Yeah.
you need to be like fairly, um, you need to have a big list of books, I think, so that you've got a
Yeah.
lot of revenue.
Yeah.
Because if you just have one series, you're not going to
Yeah.
make your money back. Like
No, you need
the
to,
one
yeah.
title
Yeah.
gets
You read
advertising.
through and all of that. It's really important, isn't it? So
That's the only way you'll make a
yeah.
profit, is if you have read through.
Yeah.
And I called a few colleagues of mine, other authors and stuff, who've tried it, and they said the same thing. Like, you need a big backlist, and my backlist is okay, but it's actually not as big as it should be to make it really worthwhile. So I'm like, just by the skin of my teeth am I doing this, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, they say, you know, like Mark Dawson, for instance, I think one of his series is 12 books. And I think that's the kind of thing that really makes the difference, because you may lose 50% from book one to book two, but once someone's finished book two, then you're looking at 90% all the way through. It's a lot higher, that read through. My Mermaid series eventually will have 5 books, and I can see spin-offs, as you say, because there are a lot of characters, you know, like Maya and Trent. They can have their own little spin-offs and things like that. And actually, the end, what I've got in mind for the last book will be Cordelia's son. So it could go off in a whole new direction.
Spoiler.
I know. I mean, this is just an idea at the moment. So, you know, that's like, I haven't even written that yet, but
which
I'll
book are you working on right now?
At the moment, I'm editing book 2 and book 3. So I've written book 2 and book 3.
When and then
so book 2 will come out in June, and then I'm hoping book 3 will come out maybe next Christmas. Then I have to write book 4 and book 5. I know what they're about, but I need to get myself back into the world, because it's been a while since I've been in that world. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, because Elle's been waiting for ages. She asked a question on my comments about what your advice is for aspiring writers. You know, what's the 1 or 2 big tips that you would give aspiring authors?
Do you think this is a question about the art of writing books, or is this a question about starting a business?
I think either. Maybe your top tips in both areas would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah. I would say, like, if I were sitting down with myself 5 years ago, I would say do a lot of research and read a lot of different books that are in genres that interest you, so that you understand what's required and what readers expect from that genre. Because, you know, it's a bit of a luxury. The readers have the luxury of just churning through books and finding authors that they like and finding stories that they like. Authors, once you go down a path, you are building a house, and you're laying the foundation, and you are putting up the walls, and you're building a house. And if you start building in one direction and then you decide you're not sure if you like that genre anymore and you want to try something different, then you have to start over again.
Yeah.
So not that you can't do that. You can do whatever you want, and that's what's wonderful about self-publishing and writing. But if you're trying to,
you just build a new house next door, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just take a bit longer, but you're building both houses. But you want to, whatever it is that readers are drawn to you for, you want to keep giving them more of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the promise that you're making to them as a brand, as a writer, as your voice.
It's your brand, isn't it? You know, it's what you're delivering. Yes. It's like, although my books, you know, I've got one dystopian and one fantasy romance, it's, you know, there's always mental health in my books. There's always adventure, you know, so have some similarities.
Your vocabulary, the way that you see the world, like your readers will pick up your books and be like, this is this is Marissa. I recognize it. Like, I know when I pick up a Stephen King book, I don't even have to look at the cover. If I flip it open and I read, I'm like, this is Stephen King.
Yeah,
I can tell. And that's what you're building, is like, that's what's going to attract people. So I think you can, within your brand, try different things like you are, you know, those things are adjacent, you know, fantasy, contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy, a post-apocalyptic dystopian, those things are adjacent, but your voice will never change, you know, and your worldview and your perspective. And that's what you want to put out there to attract readers to come to.
Yeah.
So I think if I was starting over, I would definitely do more research on that. I don't regret where I've gone, because I really enjoy writing YA. But at the same time, I wish that I had more thoroughly eliminated some other ones, so that I, you know, was really happy with that decision and committed to it. So, because now I'm always a little bit like, oh, I'd really love to try historical fantasy or historical fiction or romance, or, you know, it's like, stay in your lane.
Yeah, no, it is that whole stay in your lane thing. But at least the YA, you know, and the paranormal and the fantasy, it's a broad umbrella that you can write within. So I wanted to pick up on something you mentioned early on when you said you write young adult contemporary fantasy. I was having a little thought as I was going to bed the other night, and I was thinking, really, we've got contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy, low fantasy. What do you think are the difference between these terms, if any? You know,
I think such a great question, like an endless conversation. I think urban fantasy, I see it as modern and urban in setting for most of it, like city dwelling, lots of you know, bigger population, grittier and usually darker, with more occultish type themes, witchcraft, that kind of thing. Whereas contemporary fantasy, I feel like it's a little bit lighter, not quite so dark, and it is set in our present day, but it could take a lot of forms. Like, it could be, you know, about unicorns, it could have familiar magic, it could have elemental magic, it could have mermaids. And it just, I think it's, to me, it's a level of depth change in terms of light and dark, in terms of magic, if that makes sense. And then the high fantasy, low fantasy, I understand high fantasy to be same as epic, whereas the world is epic and it's not connected to our world. Like and then low fantasy or noble bright, and there's a lot of other terms like grim dark and things like that, are more, they could be portal fantasy, but they're connected to our world. So you have some kind of a connection between this universe and our universe, or it's even set in our world.
So my mermaid book, which you really remember, what would you call that?
I would say it's contemporary fantasy reading it. Because it's actually very similar. Our stories are actually similar in tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should write a book together.
The time that you take to describe her tale and how it looks and how she feels about it. Like, I do the same. And I think that is a very, that's pure escapism. There's no, that's a positive feeling, a positive type of magic that's lighter than, say, urban fantasy, where, you know, it's werewolves and witches and, you know, that kind of thing.
See, I mean, I get very confused, I think, between urban and paranormal, because when someone says paranormal to me, I also think vampires, werewolves, things like that. And I also think romance. I don't know why paranormal makes me think that. And actually, if you'd asked me 20 years ago what paranormal is, I would have said ghosts. But I don't think that's necessarily true now, although it can include that. And urban fantasy, like, you know, technically, I think you're right. Urban means city. It's supposed to be like the werewolf series by Kitty, what's her face, all took place in Chicago or something. You know, that is darker and grittier, but also werewolves and witches and stuff like that. And I wouldn't say that's the thing is and then contemporary fantasy, it's so confusing, you know?
It is. And I think your stories will fit into more than one, thankfully.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why Amazon allows us to put our books into 10 categories. And then it's up to us to tear our hair out and figure out where they actually go.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and scrolling through the categories, you know, on Amazon it's just a whole other thing. And when I tried, because I just uploaded the pre-order details for Mermaid Book 2, and even though I'd researched the categories, when you go to choose your categories, you can't actually choose those ones. You have to email them to say, I want, you know. So if anybody wants to see the final cover, it's actually up on Amazon. I will be sharing it though. So soon. Yeah, exciting. Very good. So we touched a little bit on your process, and you're a very quick worker. What does plotting look like for you?
Well, it looks a lot different now than it did 5 years ago, let me tell you. I have actually recently fallen in love with this process for screenwriting. Do you know Stave the Cat? This is backwards.
Oh, I do. Yes, I use Stave the Cat quite a lot too.
You do. Yeah. I really like it. I like thinking about the art of screenwriting because I find that it's a bit more, it's less dense than thinking about writing for a novel. So if I go into it feeling like I'm writing a movie, then actually the whole book becomes a movie in my head, and all I have to do is transcribe it after that.
Yeah.
So the screenwriting techniques really work for me. And I also really like K.M. Weiland's books as well. She's got a really helpful website. Do you know her?
No. I'm trying to think.
Weiland, she's written quite a few plotting books.
Kim Weiland, did you say?
K.M. Weiland. K.M. Okay. I'll find a title, one of the titles. She's got a great website.
Okay. I'm gonna look that up. I love
helping writers become authors.com is her website. She's got a ton of great articles. And then she also has a book on plotting, which I enjoyed. If I can find it, I'll tell you there it is. Helping Writers Become Authors, Outlining Your Novel. Wow, that's a really simple title. Yeah. And she's got one called Creating Character Arcs as well, and Structuring Your Novel. Her stuff is good.
For me, I think it's character. I always get nervous about character and making sure that they've got enough depth. And I don't know why. It's just something I get worried about. So my agent just recommended that I read a craft book. It's called The 27 Principles of Storytelling or something. But I found the author on Twitter and I followed him and he followed me back. And I was like, wow. And I tagged my agent. I said, oh, maybe I can just learn this by osmosis now. And she rolled her eyes at me. So I was like,
yeah, dream on.
Shucks. Yeah, I'm going to have to read it. I just wanted to so Derek Warner's author is on here, and he said, would either of you consider co-writing, and have you done it before?
I have done it before. I did it for a spin-off series called The Rings of the Inconquo with Aaron D. Schneider, who's just getting started in his career, but he has great writing chops, really, really good. Right. I find that co-writing, it was very peaceful for us. I mean, you can divide co-writing up in so many different ways. And how we divided it was, I plotted out the first book, asked him for input. We refined it. He wrote the first draft, and then I heavily edited it. And then he did the plot for the second book. And then we kind of reversed. He still wrote the initial draft, and then I heavily edited it because it's supposed to fit into my universe. So it needed to have other characters coming in, things like that. What I find with co-writing is that your voices have to be very similar. Yeah. And actually, Aaron's voice and my voice are not that similar. Okay. He's very good at grimdark, and like he could write Game of Thrones, but with a lot more detail, a lot more violence, really gritty. I'm not that kind of a writer, really. I'm maybe more. I write more like a screenwriter, like the dialogue it's just kind of rolls forward like a movie. So I would co-author again, but I would make sure that it was with a writer who had a very similar voice. Yeah. To me, so that it wasn't jarring for the readers. Because what happened was, once that trilogy came out, readers were like, yeah, I liked it, but it was so different from your other stuff. And it's never performed as well. It's kind of always lagged behind, always at the bottom. And I'm not as confident about talking about it because it's not fully mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a good experience and I learned a lot,
Yeah.
but I would just be very picky before I did that again.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the voice is making sure that A, the voice is similar, B, that the way you work together would fit as well, because obviously if you can write a first draft in a month and the other author takes a year to do it, that's not going to work either, you know.
No.
So you would need to make sure that your processes aligned, I think. Or we had this one idea with one of my, do you know Curtis Brown? They do the writing courses in London and stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
I had done a writing course with Curtis Brown, and there were 15 of us, but 9 of us that got really close. And we had always talked about writing a book all together. And we had thought the idea, you know, a little bit lost, like stranded on a desert island, but we all take one character. So you would be doing a rolling POV. And I think things like that would work if you both had different points of view, different characters. Then the voice might not have to match up quite so much, because it
actually that would be great, because then it's very clear to the reader who's speaking too.
Exactly. So that could work quite nicely. But anyway, back to your plotting. Obviously, we've got these books that you use. How detailed do you go into your plot? So with your Save the Cat, I put all the 27 points on a spreadsheet of Save the Cat, and then I fill in, and then I know the areas that are blank are the bits that I need to work on to iron out. But so how detailed do you go before you start actually writing?
I started using, for this next series I'm working on, I'm just going to open it so I can actually show it to you, but I actually don't go too deep into the scenes. I kind of have, like, I could fill maybe 2 scene cards with each main beat. And I love Plotter because it allows me to see, if I can turn this around, then I can show you. Can I turn it?
Maybe you can flip. I don't know if you get, I don't think you get the option to flip, do you? Oh, there you go. You did. Oh, wow. Look at that.
So this is the hero's journey that I'm following, the story that I'm creating. So Ordinary World, Call to Adventure, Refuse the Call. I just kind of stuck that up there. I don't use it that often, but I thought for this story it would work. And then I have this kind of high level of the plot. And then I have the 2 main characters in blue and green. And then a tertiary character, and then my villain down here.
That. So is that a particular software then?
Yeah, it's called Plotter, Plottr. And when you go into each little box, it pops open what you've written for that scene. So I can see at a glance what's going on in each of these. And then at the top here, you can see this says, this is the overall project. So I can see how many books it's going to be. This is the outline where I can see, who's taking place in these scenes. And then as I scroll, I can see all of my outline. And then I've got characters up here, because this is an epic story. So I have a lot of characters, and I can find little photos for them. I can categorize them with
I like this.
Different.
I've never gotten on with Scrivener, but this really appeals to me. I think this is a really good software. I might look into that.
You should. It's visual, so it might help.
I
love that I can keep all of my notes in one place. I like Scrivener too, but Scrivener is a lot more cerebral than this, so it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, but I think the visuality is really good. Sometimes I will find pictures of my characters and print them out and stick them on my walls just to give me those visual cues, you know.
Yes.
But
and my audiobook narrator has joined us, the Lady Hamlet. She's amazing. Aww. She said this would actually be so useful for your narrator. Hint, hint.
I love it. Oh, that's fantastic.
You're right. It actually would be, because all of your places are in there, your history's in there, your characters are in there, and all their backstory, like everything. You can fill it as much as you want with whatever you want. But that's like the Bible for my whole series. And I'm just doing it for this series. I've never used it before, but I like it. So give it a try.
I think I will. I think I'm going to put that on my Christmas list. Yeah. And I love that your narrator said that, because I haven't delved into audiobooks yet. The prices kind of scare me. But they really do need to know so much about the book and the character motivations and who they are, so that they can get the right nuances I never really thought of it that way.
It's so, as always, it's so much bigger of a job than then the listener understands. Like they think,
Yeah.
you know, well, you're just reading a story into a microphone. No. You are, you know, you have to get the accent right. And that in itself is a big job. All the pronunciation and the nuances, you know, there's acting involved. Can you emote with your voice? Are you good at that? You know, I mean, you could have an interview with Marnie. Sometimes she's a great interview and very cute and funny.
What with Marnie Norton?
Marnie Penning is my narrator. She's on here, the Lady Hamlet. Yeah, she says embodying your ideas. She really does bring it to life. I mean, I you know, when you write a really emotional scene, you cry sometimes because it's so, you feel it so strongly. And then, you know, when your narrator reads it back to you and you're bawling even more, you're just like, you know, special. You really brought it to life. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. Not anybody can just sit down and read a story and make you feel everything.
Oh, I would love to have her on the show because I've got, I want to get the whole spectrum of the industry, and I've got Casey Moses is coming on in January, you know, the book cover artist. So I can't wait to talk to her. And then I've got Rosie or Merrowchild coming on. Obviously, she's a Waterstones bookseller and she's fabulous. So I want, you know, the whole spectrum of the publishing industry. So an audio narrator would be fantastic. Yes. Okay, so your plotting is on point. I'm a plotter, so I like this. What about your editing process? How do you approach that?
So I find now that I'm 5 years in, I can afford to do a little bit more with my editing process than I did originally. My very first book, I really didn't know what was available in terms of editing, and I spent more money than I could afford. Not more than it was worth, because great editor is worth it. But at the time, I really didn't have much of a budget. And so after that, I was like, I really need to figure out a way to work with somebody who doesn't quite cost this much, maybe somebody who's new and just cutting their teeth or whatever. So actually, I had a reader who reached out to me and offered to get involved and kind of become like a consistency spotter. And then that worked great. So we started working together, and that role has actually expanded. She became copy editor. Now she's basically building my new website. So
wow, that's perfect.
So now I've sent the book that I'm working on right now. I've sent for a developmental edit, which I've never done before, because the developmental edits are quite expensive if you're getting it from somebody who really understands story, because story is tricky. And she sent back a ton of feedback, and that's I don't know if you saw the TikTok I made where I was like ripping out 20,000 words and rewriting another 30,000. That's why. So the feedback from her, I actually changed quite a lot of the story, and then now I'm polishing the last that I can do before I send it on to a copy editor, and he'll do a copy edit. I would love to do a line edit and then a copy edit, but that's just unreasonable.
So expensive.
Very expensive for me. And then I have a couple of people proofread it, and then it goes to my ARC readers, and they always catch errors, always. And then it publishes after that. That's kind of the process that I go through. What do you do?
I've done a variety of things. With The Unadjusted, because that was published by a publisher, so they did obviously the development. I think I rewrote 75% of that book. It was painful. And it really screwed up book 2 and book 3, so I had to rewrite lots of chunks of that on my own. But even though she wasn't carrying on with publishing, she is an editor, so I used her for book 2 and book 3 for editing, because I really struggle with making big developmental edits without feedback. I need someone to tell me what to do, otherwise I second guess myself. So that was really helpful. So once she did that with The Mermaid, obviously that was edited by the company. Shadowkeepers was also edited by the publishing company, but I don't think they did a particularly good job. So that's on my list to go back and actually tidy some things up in that one. And then with Luna, I actually had about 10 different, over the years, I'd written it maybe 5 years ago. So over the years, I've had lots and lots of feedback from fellow authors. My agent had given me a developmental report on it. She didn't want the book, so that's why I decided to self-publish it. And I had such an in-depth report, I just used that as my developmental edit, and then I use my mom for my proofreading, my grammar, because my grammar's not, you know. So and then off it goes. So I don't know what I'm going to do with my mermaid book. I haven't decided yet, but every book I approach a little bit differently. I would love to be able to get, you know, proper editor, as you say, the whole process, but I can't really do that each time either. Yeah,
it takes a lot, expands the timeline a lot to have it going around all these different hands. And I forgot one other step that I take, and that's to put it through the author's AI. It's a artificial intelligence that basically, once the book is done, I run it through it, and it just highlights like, you've used this word 4,000 times. You might want to change that. You know, or it tells me my themes, and it because sometimes you don't even know like your main themes. You think you do, and then when it actually comes out, you're like, oh yeah, okay. But it also shows like moments where the pace is fast, or moments where the pace is slow. So it can show, because what it does is they've uploaded a ton of best-selling books from over the last 30 years, and then they just compare your novel to that from a mathematical point of view. So it doesn't have anything to do with the story itself. It's more to do with the structure, and it just can kind of highlight where the pace might be too slow, where you've used too many of the same word, or lots of other little kind of bits and pieces. And that helps me just clean it up just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll look into that as well, because I have used something called the Hemingway app before, but it's not as detailed as that. And the Hemingway app just highlights like how many adverbs you've used in total, and if that's a good or bad percentage, and what kind of overcomplicated sentences you've got, and it highlights these things in different colors. So it's a good spot check to go through things like that as well. But I like that process. That's good. I have taken to using the word read aloud function, just because the word read aloud. So word will read your book back to you. But just because, you know, everyone always says read your book out loud, you catch mistakes, which is totally true. But I run out of energy after about one chapter.
Yes.
So I get Word to do it for me, and I read it, I go along with it. So that's what I did for Luna, actually. That I used that for the first time, and it was amazing how many things it caught. And I thought, oh, which I wouldn't have seen, you know, those little like frums instead of form or things like that. So it's really good. Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
I'm just looking for one of my little artificial intelligence things that it spat out, so I can show it to you if you're interested in seeing what it comes out with. But I just have to find one. I don't necessarily know where.
I'm just starting to wonder if there's a way that, you know, the more established authors on Book Talk could put together a list of resources for the aspiring authors, where to find things, what they do, how much they cost, you know, that I think would be really helpful. And not just aspiring authors, but, you know, I had heard of Plotter software, but I didn't know what it did. So I'm just wondering how we could curate that. Elle's saying, yes, do that. Because I think it would be really useful to share.
Well, I already have, I have a list of, yes, I have a list of both. Actually, I have several lists. I have resources, tools, a list of ad platforms from all different sizes, from the obvious ones like Bargain Booksy and Free Booksy to the smaller ones that are, you know, $15 or $10. So we could.
Is that on your website? Or?
No, it's not public. It's just something I've kept for myself over the years. But because it's really messy, I'd have to clean it up so that people look at it and be like, what? But we could just through our link tree link to say, for example, a Google Doc or something that anybody can access with a bunch of links and just a short little thing that what this is, and then categorize them.
I wonder if even on a spreadsheet, because we could put plotting, editing, ads, you know, what it relates to, and then where you find it, how much it is, that kind of thing.
And actually something like this does exist in the 20 books to 50K Facebook group.
I need to get more involved in that group. I'm a member, but I haven't really dived into it yet. So
they have in their file section an absolute avalanche of resources and documents. Here's where to start. Like, this is our recommendation. Like, that's a really good place for new people just to educate themselves. And any question that you can think of, pretty much, if you type it into the search, Somebody's asked it. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
I think there must be close to 50,000 people in that group now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
But
I can show you, if you're interested in seeing what this AI does, I can show you.
Yeah,
I found,
absolutely.
I'll just turn this around so I can show you. How did I do that before? Yes.
Flippy flicked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get an introduction. This is just your overview saying what this program does. So our researchers have spent years analyzing bestsellers as well as clunkers to identify patterns. Which ingredients propel a book onto the bestseller list, while which others languish? Subject matter, pacing, character traits, story structure all play essential roles. You still need to put artistry, heart, and emotional resonance into your work. But if you're out to write a page turner that readers can't put down, add data science to your craft. So it kind of gives you an outline of what it's going to provide. And then the first thing it goes into is the shape of your story. So the narrative arc of my story. So for example, this shows a snapshot of the character's journey. And they're too tiny for you to see, but this is the point in the story where it's happening. So 8%, 18%, 28%, 38%, etc. And so the green narrative is the character's journey. The protagonist moved from difficult times to happy times, or the opposite. And the purple is the where is it? This horizontal line denotes neutrality, where there's emotional neutrality in the story. Okay. So this is the high, this is the low. So what you want to see is that it's going up and down past that neutral point, and that's what creates page turning. If that makes sense.
Wow, that's fantastic. I like this software. Yeah.
It's really helpful to look at just as an art overall. This is narrative beats. So it says, this is the graphics, the takeaway of your novel's rhythm. Novels with a driving plot tend to have beats that are evenly spaced across narrative time. So you can see my beats are fairly evenly spaced. But there's a few places where they're close together, a few where they're further apart. So I could then take this and go back to I'm not going to do that because I'm happy with how it looks. But if I wasn't happy with how it looks, I could go and zone in on this percentage or what's happening, and look at this and analyze it and see if there's something I could do to tighten that together. That's another thing it gives you. Positive beats and negative beats. And then it actually these are actually blurbs taken straight out of my book and where they are. And it shows positive beats as well as conflict beats.
Wow.
And where they are in the story. And then this is a pacing model. So I can see the dips are where it's slower and the high parts are where it's faster. So you can really see this big thing at the climax.
Yeah.
Moving on, fast pacing and slow pacing. It shows you where those happen. Exactly around the 23% mark is this sentence. So I can actually zone into that exact place.
That's incredible. Yeah.
These are my characters and their personality traits. So this is a antagonist, protagonist, antagonist, and they've taken different traits here and shown that my narrator is highly perceptive. This antagonist is very confident. This guy's happy. This guy's responsive, physical. Wow. So it kind of shows you the feeling that you get from your character's traits with the way.
So how does it pick up on that? Is it all by the words that you use?
Yes, it's by the words. Yeah, that you're using in description. I like this one a lot. This is called dialogue versus narrative. So the purple is the dialogue and the green is the narrative. And it says that where is it here? While narration can jump around, dialogue pinpoints the activity to a specific moment in time that a conversation is occurring. Dialogue can slow down the pace of a novel, which is often necessary, but used effectively, dialogue provides texture and backstory and adds complexity and nuance. While every novel differs in the amount of interaction between characters, most popular novels contain between 25 and 35% dialogue. Right. So I've got 35% dialogue, so I know I'm in a safe zone. Yay.
This is amazing. I love the software. I mean, who needs an editor when you've got this?
I know. I know. It's another tool that I can just put in my toolbox.
It's fantastic.
I really find it handy. These are my major subjects. So this is what is cut. So body, description of the body. And this is something that I think would be high for you as well, because I've now read half of your mermaid book, and I can see how you describe and the detail that you go into. So I would say this is something that's consistent with my voice in particular.
Right.
And maybe you would find that as well. This is terrorism, counterterrorism and spying, facial expressions, caves and tunnels, living rooms, household interiors, heartache and tears, neighborhoods, fire. This is a fire series. But anyways, I can see what my major subjects are.
Right.
And if
so yeah, if you had like the body is high, for instance, I mean, does that indicate that actually you want to chop down that a little bit and make that less high, or what is that actually telling you?
Yeah. It's not actually necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. It's just saying that this is something that you focus on a lot when you're storytelling, is descriptions of the body, what people are doing, because your writing is more cinematic maybe than some others that might be more cerebral. For example, you might be writing a story that readers like to read as though they're watching a film, rather than as though they're right in the back of somebody's head. And in their thought processes, for example. It does tell you like how to use the data. It gives you ways to examine it. This is explicit language, which I don't swear a lot in my books, but it obviously just wants, if for people who want that, they want to, they provide that. So I've used the word hell 11 times here, 4 suck times, shit. Like
no, that's helpful. That is, I mean, I don't have a lot of swear words. One of my whips has swear words in it, but I think it's, you know, they're being chased by a serial killer, so who's not going to swear?
Yeah, he's not going to swear. I think that's all right. This I love because it's picking out cliches and showing you how many times they're used. So I've got over the edge 5 times here. I might want to go back and just find other ways of saying that. In the dark, hands on the tip of my tongue, back against the wall, over my head, sit tight, anything goes. Like these are, but some of them I don't care so much. I mean, I'm only using them once. So, but some of the ones where I use often, I might want to go back and change those.
So is this software a one-time fee, or is it like a subscription, or how does it work?
I think I'm actually one of the founders, so I should know that answer. But let me just call it up for you. I think you can actually buy a package, or you can buy them one at a time. And I actually have a discount code if people want it.
Oh, I do want it. Yeah.
You can just use my discount code. So it's got because what's happening is traditional publishers are buying these up in bulk, right?
Yeah.
So you can go Marlowe Pro, Marlowe Basic, single report, or you can buy a plan. So monthly plan, this is obviously for publishers, monthly or an annual plan, or a single report, which is $45, it looks like.
Okay, that's not too bad, actually. Yeah.
But I can't remember what my discount is, but you can use my code if you ever want to buy one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I will use this when I come to my mermaid book. So do you do this at the end of your editing process? You put it through here? Or whereabout? Yeah. Okay.
I always use it right at the end after I've copy edited it so that it's as clean as possible, because I don't want Marlowe picking up on things that I already know I have to fix, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
I want it to pick up on things that I'm not aware of yet. Yeah. And I just use it to check. I really haven't taken a lot of action because of what Marlowe's told me. A few things here and there, but I use it as a sense check to be like, okay, I haven't made some massive mistake with the structure or oversaturated it with too many of this phrase, or made a place that's way too slow and then I'm going to lose readers. So naturally, I find that my stuff usually, I think it's just so many years now of writing story after story after story. Yeah. Most of them are pretty good, and because I'm a founding member and I own stock in this, I can use it anytime. So I just always do it.
Yeah. So incredible. Yeah. I think that's an incredible piece of software. I'm really impressed. I didn't know it could do all that.
Well, it does a lot more, but if I kept telling you, we'd be here for like an hour.
Yeah, so. No, I will obviously, I mean, and I think anyone watching to go off and investigate that, I think that is a very clever little piece of tool. So we have reached the part in the interview where we get to the fun questions. Fun, evil, funny.
This has been fun already.
Yeah, well, So as a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or spirit animal?
Oh, that's so hard. There's so many. A horse.
See, that wasn't hard at all. Tell me why a horse?
Right. I think. Did you know that I mean, the difference between a horse and a donkey is that a donkey has a very keen sense of self-preservation and will not go forward into trouble, but a horse will, because you can ride a horse straight into battle, straight into guns and bullets and bombs, and they will run straight. They're so courageous. I just find them such incredible animals. So intelligent and so emotionally intelligent as well. That's why they use them as therapy animals. So I just, when I see them running, I just get all choked up. They're the most beautiful creatures. Yeah, so probably a horse.
What about you? Answer. I always go dolphin. I mean,
I love dolphins.
I'm a water baby, and equally they are courageous and friendly and therapy animals, and you know those same kinds of reasons. But I'm such a water baby that I just love anything water related. So I've always loved dolphins. Yeah,
I would say that's probably my second. If I would go with something watery as well, and dolphins.
Yeah. I love them. I do love them so much. I mean, if it was allowed, I would have a pet dolphin. Yeah. Right. If you could only drink one drink and eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I thought this was going to be fun. Oh, well, God.
Yeah, I did say evil as well. So there you go.
Oh, if I had one drink, I would say that would have to be lemon something, lemon tea or lemonade, something to the lemons.
Yeah.
Because I love the flavor, but they're also good for you.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Meal. Oh. I would have to say my mom's chicken soup.
Oh, isn't that nice? Yeah.
It's so homey.
Yeah.
So warming. Yeah. She like puts kale in it and a bunch of other vegetables and spices. Nobody can make it like her. I love it. No. What would yours be?
I always go, well, you're gonna laugh. I always go prosecco and ice cream.
Oh, well. I'm coming over to your house.
Yeah. Says a lot about me, doesn't it? Yeah. I do like my tea as well, though. I think it would be hard to choose between prosecco and tea. So yeah.
They go together.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. Those are my favorites. Okay. What is your favorite biscuit or cookie?
It has to be soft, not crunchy. I like soft ones. I would say like a really nice doughy chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. Totally
that would be it. Yeah. I mean, it's basic, but I mean, I can't say no.
No, it's good. It's good.
What's your cookie?
Yeah, the same. I'm good. The same. I like them soft and gooey, you know. Yeah.
Chocolatey.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I make chocolate chip cookies. I have since I was a teenager. But I never get them soft and gooey. They're always hard. Well, not crunchy.
It's tricky.
It's so hard to get them that way. I've tried maybe 20 different recipes and I still haven't found the
perfect one.
You know? No.
Wow. No. When you do, you could sell access to it because that's valuable.
The perfect one. I could. Okay. What is your favorite color?
Teal.
That's the same as my son. He's only 8, but he loves teal. It's so funny. Yeah,
it's such a gorgeous color. It's the perfect combination of blue and green. Yeah. It's a happy color. Yeah. And if it was a food, it would be sweet, like vanilla ice cream or something like that. And it's the color of the water here in the Mediterranean. It's so nice. It's very relaxing.
I bet.
What's your favorite color?
Blue. I like blue. I do like teal, but I'm like a electric blue kind of Superman blue, you know.
Yeah.
I love blue.
Intense blue.
Yeah, but I like red too. Red's a good color. I like to wear red.
Is that why your tail is red? Because it's your favorite?
No, that will start becoming apparent in book 2. Why her tail is red. Yes. Okay. She's a bit different to the other mermaids. Yeah.
I have to hang on to find out.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Do you have any pets?
I don't right now because we travel so much. But I grew up on a farm and I've had a gazillion pets and I love animals so much. I really miss having a dog. And there are a lot of street cats and dogs here. So I cuddle them and then I wash when I come home.
Yeah. I was about to say, give yourself a rabies jab. You know, there you go.
Yeah. Yes. A lot of soap.
There was a dog. My husband and I went to China on our honeymoon, and there was
wow.
this puppy. And in China, you know, they eat dogs.
Yeah.
And there was this little puppy on the street market, and she sat down and she wiggled at me, and it broke my little heart. I took a picture of her. I was showing it to the kids the other day, and I wanted to take her home. She was just this blonde little furball of cuteness. And my husband just says to me, well, she'll have been eaten by now. And I'm like, stop it. Stop. I like to think of her as living her best life, running around.
That's awful.
I know. My husband is awful that way. Yeah.
Dark.
Okay.
Dark sense of humor.
Dark, yeah, very dark. Are you a Marvel or a DC fan?
Ooh, I would have to say Marvel, although I really like Wonder Woman.
Yes. Wonder Woman is pretty cool. She's
pretty awesome. She has a great anthem.
Yeah.
And the new Wonder Woman movies are just like, wow.
They are amazing, aren't they?
I would have to say the Marvel universe, I think, is better, is really well done. But my favorite character is a DC character.
That's interesting. Yeah.
How about you?
I think I've always been really Marvel. I always loved Superman growing up, but I think Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero. And until Aquaman came out, and he's DC, so I got swayed. And I mean, Jason Momoa, you can't not like, you know, like a bit of that. So I do like a bit of Aquaman. But I think I prefer with Marvel, as you say, I think the world is more fleshed out, and the interactions, especially with the Avengers, I think is done so well. I just think that the humor and the action, and that it's appropriate for all ages, whereas DC is so much darker and grittier,
definitely
lower, and especially the Batmans and things like that. You've got to be in the right mood for it, I think.
Agreed.
Although there's a series on Netflix called Titans, which is, I don't know if you've seen it. It's about to start the 3rd series. So it's led by Robin. So Robin and Batman have had this falling out, and Robin finds this group of kids, teenagers, with superpowers who don't know what to do. They're destructive, and he doesn't know what to, they don't know what to do with themselves. So he kind of takes them under his wing, and it's excellent. It's really, really good. So that's obviously DC. Nice. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, I love anything superhero. So
actually, the superhero category is definitely where my books fit, especially in the first Elemental Origin series. They are all origin stories of superhero women. That's what they are, really, at the heart of it. Yeah. And I love them too. There's nothing better than a good superhero story for like pure escapism. It's just,
I think so too.
I love it.
And I think, well, one of the books that I'm planning on writing is kind of like an anti-superhero book. So have you heard of the series The Boys? It's been on Amazon Prime.
I've heard of it. I think my husband started watching it.
Very good. So it's kind of like a YA version of that, where there's a teen who, there are superheroes that exist because of meteor shower that happened, and while their mothers were pregnant with them, they took on these alien properties. So when they reach puberty, they start developing these superpowers, and you can either join the World Protection Agency to defend the world against whatever, or you get put into a boarding school and contained. And this one teen, our main character, she hates the superheroes because they put her father in a wheelchair in a rescue mission gone wrong. So when her boyfriend gets his powers and joins the World Protection Agency, she wants him to kind of spy on them and figure out what's going on. She suspects it's not all, that. So she goes and finds some of the meteorites to give herself some powers to be like the anti-superhero. So it's kind of like a character descent. But she's doing it for the wrong thing for the right reasons, maybe. I don't know. So cool. That's going to be my anti-superhero book, I think.
I like it.
But yeah, this is one of these 4 books that I want to write, but can't yet. So,
yes, I feel your pain. I have a few of those haunting my dreams.
There you go. Right. What 3 books would you give to an alien or take to a desert island?
What 3 books would I give to an alien or a desert island? So these are, if it's for an alien, I'm assuming it would be to understand us better, maybe.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I would give them Angela's Ashes by Arthur Golden, I think his name is.
Okay.
I would give them the Bible
I said that.
Did you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did say that when I was asked
Nice.
this question. And then I thought, but is it? Because it's full of war and destruction, you know?
Yes, there's some love stories in there too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
You have to include the apocrypha. You can't just send like the short version. You have to include them because there's some alien stories in the apocrypha.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
And then what would be the other one? I would send maybe, gosh, that's a hard question.
Tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, so tricky.
Maybe it's a question I need to send in advance in future, because I think it does take some thinking about, you know.
I know. Yeah. Stand by Me. Sorry, the Body by Stephen King. It became Stand by Me.
Yeah. No,
The Body
right.
by Stephen King. So
I've never actually read it, but I love the film.
You must.
Yeah.
It's so, I've read it 6 times. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
I
think that was incredible. It's such a great coming of age story.
Yes.
It is
you
incredible.
will fall in love with the way he tells it. I mean, the movie is nice. It's good. The book is just like
another level.
orders of magnitude better. So good. Highly recommend.
And I like his earlier stuff, to be honest. I find Stephen King hit and miss. Just depending, but
well, he's been through a lot in his life, and he went through stages. I mean, major drug addiction, drinking problems, a road accident that almost killed him, and rehab, and like he says, I don't even remember writing some of my books.
That's all in his On Writing book, isn't it? He talks about all of that. Really interesting, that book, actually.
Really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, his earlier stuff is very very, very dark. Like the Carrie and Cujo will make you cry. Salem's Lot is terrifying.
That's my favorite.
Vampires, I mean, the only better vampire story I've ever found was The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice.
Yes, that also excellent, but not for everyone, I think, because that's a lot more
philosophical,
dark and gritty and introspective, isn't it? So
it is very much like the struggle of what have I become? Am I damned forever? Like that whole question is explored in that in her book, which is really interesting.
I think the movie adaptation actually was done really well.
Yes, I agree. Interview,
really well. Cast was fantastic. All right, so what about these 3 books you're taking to an island with you?
To read myself?
Yeah, when you're shipwrecked, you know.
But then, okay, I guess they have to be ones I've read already, because what if I take something I haven't read and it's a dud?
Yeah, that's a risk, but you know, you can make it.
I would take, can I take series?
That's what I do. Absolutely. You can take a series. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then I will take the Wheel of Time series, and I'll take the Bible because I love it. And I'll take the Harry Potter series. Yeah.
So Wheel of Time, are you talking about the series that's on Amazon Prime at the moment?
If it is on Amazon Prime, I'm not aware of it. I'm thinking the Robert Jordan books. I actually haven't read them, but I feel like they'd be amazing, and I think I would. So
it's about these 4 early 20, late teens, maybe, who might be the one to do something special, and they have to leave their village because they're hunted by these werewolf type things. Does this sound like it?
I don't think so. No.
All right. So there's this series called Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime, and it is astonishingly good, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's very good.
I have to make a note to look it
up. It's really, really good. Best thing I've seen for a while, actually.
Really? And it's called The Wheel of Time. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is something about the wheel, but I don't know what that is yet. So, and I think it was based on books because it says adapted by, and I hadn't heard of it before. So, I wondered if it was.
Oh, yes, it is. You've nailed it. Yeah, you've nailed it. I say it's on my TBR, and I think I would want to take something that I haven't read yet, and this looks really amazing, so I would probably take it. But it says now a major TV series. Yeah.
I would love to see how that is done as a book, because it's got to be multi-point of view, I think. And I always love to see how that's done in an epic fantasy like that, you know, how that translates onto the screen, because they're all split up now. I'm on episode 3. they've all been split up, and so you have to have a multi point of view for that kind of thing.
Yes,
so I think I need to check that book out and just see. I like to understand how he's done that.
I wonder if it's first written in first person, or where's book one?
Well, yeah,
here's book two.
I don't know. I think if it's multi POV, I always prefer third person, but that's just me.
No, yeah, it is written in third person. I'm just looking at the peek at the inside. It is third.
Right, here is your last question, and then you are free to get on with your day.
Okay.
Have you got any talents that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
Well, I can shoot a bow, actually.
Nice.
I do have one, although it's not here. It's back in Canada. I don't have quite the aim that she has.
Yeah.
But I can shoot a bow.
That's incredible. Could you shoot something moving, or would it have to be static?
It would have to be static for me to hit it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not that practiced at it. And I did go hunting once because I thought, I mean, I am a meat eater, and I feel like if I'm going to eat meat, I should take some responsibility for the life that I'm ending. Because I mean, you are ending a life, and if you're eating meat, then you're either doing it yourself or you're paying someone else to do it. So this is the very Canadian point of view. So I went out hunting, and I just kept thinking, I don't know if I'm actually capable of doing this. Like I love animals so much. Maybe I should consider being a vegan. And then I went vegan for a while, and I turned yellow. Apparently my body didn't want to be vegan.
Well, and sometimes it's like your blood types and your hormones are suited to different things, aren't they? And I totally understand what you mean. I mean, I try not to think about where it comes from, because if I can't see the shape of the animal, then I'm fine. But when I was served up an entire squid on my plate once, I was like, I can't do that. No. But I once also went hunting with a friend. So it was after we'd finished high school, and we got together at the Christmas holidays at her farm in Herefordshire, and they had a rabbit problem. So after a night of drinking, we all got in the Land Rover. There's about 8 of us. We all got in this Land Rover. Some of us were sitting on the bonnet. It was with the gun. I sat in the back seat because I was like, I'm not sure I can do this. And I think they shot 11 rabbits. And one of my friends was responsible for making sure they were dead. So she would grab it by the hind legs and thwack its head against the wheel of the car.
Yeah.
And then throw them into the back, which was behind me. So all I saw were these 11 rabbits staring at me with these big black dead eyes. And I then knew I can't do it. I can't. I am also an animal lover. I just
don't have the killer instinct.
I couldn't. I think even if my life depended on it, I would struggle. I would just be like closing my eyes while I was skinning it or something, and be like, oh.
I'd be the same. I think we'd be toast. If the world zombie apocalypse strikes, I'm just gonna die. I'm pretty sure.
First to die. With my slip disc and all of that. I'm not gonna run very fast, so. I swim though. I could swim away. So there you go.
There you go. Fishing doesn't seem quite so difficult. I think I could fish.
Do you think you could, with a spear?
Well, I'd start with a hook and go from there.
Yeah. Well, then you'd have to have a whole contraption, wouldn't you? And build that yourself. But I admire when you see people who can just stab a fish. I think that's incredible.
I know the hunters that everybody depends on. That's like the killer instinct that not everybody's born with.
No, absolutely. It takes all the types to do. Well,
make the world go round.
Yeah, that is the end of. I could talk to you all day, but
it was so fun. I was looking forward to this for so long, and last week I was so disappointed. I just had this huge thing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have to put this off for another week. Thank you for understanding. It was so nice talking to you.
Absolutely.
So lovely.
It's been such a pleasure. Yes. And
We'll do it again.
I've learned so much from you.
Good.
Thank you. I really have. So, and that's what this show is all about. It's all about people getting to know us as authors and sharing advice and all of that kind of stuff. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to your next mermaid book. I'll have to be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. I'm starting to get my finger out and get onto that one. So
yes,
there we go.
You must, because there's expectations out there on you now.
Okay. Yes.
You must.
I will. There we go.
Take care.
All right,
nice
my love.
To you.
We will. She froze.
Oh, frozen for a second there.
Oh, frozen. There we go. Now we can say goodbye.
Bye.
So that was A L Knorr. What a wonderful author and person. And bye, Elle. Thanks for joining. Do check out her books. They are fantastic. She is a bestseller all the time. And I cannot wait also to dive into her mermaid series because I love them too. So until next time, there will be another live next week. If you would like to be the star of the chat show, do look at the link in my link tree. And I would love to have you on, whether you were a reader, a writer, cover artist, anything to do with the publishing industry. I'm always open to chatting. Until then.